Hello everybody, this is Marion with MyCraftBasketStudio, and today is going to be tutorial number 9. We're going to go over paper piecing technique, a simple technique for instant pizzazz. You can find my free PDFs that I will have. The instructions on how to do this will be there, plus sample pictures. The ones I'm going to show you today, they're on the website as well. And so you can download those. You'll find that at mycraftbasket.com. That is my website. Click on the MyCraftBasketStudio tab. You'll see all my other tutorials there as well. So let's get started. So the reason I even came up with this was I came across a video on Facebook and she was doing some little tags. And I go like, oh, that's cool. And so she did have the website of the lady that showed her how to do it. And I will link that lady's video in the description box below. But because I want to give her credit for the fact that she came up with this particular technique using the tag, making the tag. And so I went there and I go like, oh, I've done that similar item before. I've called it paper piecing. But what she did with the tags was really super cool. So I'm just going to lay out all the different ones. I am going to show you how to make one of these. I'm going to show you my way of doing it. Hers was a little bit out of order as far as how I would have done it. And so I'm going to show you mine. And you can certainly go to her video and see how she did it, just so you know. And so I'm just spreading them out. I ended up making 29 of them just so quickly. So I am laying them out just so you can kind of see what I made. All right, got a couple more here. There we go. So these are all the different ones that I made. I used Tim Holtz ink. So I did use vintage photo. I used burnt timber, I think he calls it. I used the red. There's red, and then there's a blue one, blue ribbon. The red, I think, is... I can't remember offhand, but it's all Tim Holtz inks, just so you know. And then one thing that I noticed on her video is I have them as well, same type labels that she used. It is a sticker, and they're a little slick. And she mentioned using some inks, but what I would recommend, because this is a slick surface, if you've got StazOn ink, that is what you want to use. It is designed for stamping on slick surfaces. It's designed for, just so you know, I've done this. This is a little class that I taught a long time ago. It was called Stamping 101. And when you took my class, you actually made this little book. We went through everything. And so this is solvent-based inks. Stays on for plastic, glass, and wood. So keep that in mind when you stamp on stickers. Otherwise, I just used the oxide ink. That worked fine on the paper items. So I want to get these out of the way quickly. And I want to show you things that I've done in the past. Because when I saw her video, I go like, oh, I've done that before. Maybe somebody would like to see what I have done in the past. So I want to show you some of my things that I have done. When I do stamping, this is a good example of when I did those tags. A lot of times I want like a second, maybe even a third generation of inking. So I stamp here first, and then I stamped on the tags. So when you look at it, you can see that the black isn't as dark as it would if I've done it the first time. I wanted to keep it subtle. So this is a good example. For the one that I'm going to show you. See, it's a lot lighter than the darker ones. So I use this to stamp off on. Well, one day I was looking at something and I go like, hey, that makes a kind of a cool background. And so what I did was I cut out some flowers. So let me show you the flowers. These are the finished product. I wanted to let you know it's a finished product. This one is going to be in your pictures for samples. That one is going to be in the picture. I'm not sure if I have the other one, but anyhow, as you can see, what I do, I cut out, I used the Tim Holtz Tattered Florals die cut. It's the block one. How about that? We don't see those around very much anymore. And I just cut out one of the flowers. And then what I did was, in some of the things that I have like book sheet, music paper, some brown craft paper. I layered those, and then I created these flowers. And so that is one way you can do it. I've done leaves, and I've also done birds. So here's an example of Tim Holtz, his birds. I have 3 or 4, I think 3 in the paper example, your PDF. And this is what I did with one of the birds. So this is on like a perpetual calendar. And I put the bird there and on a little stick right there. So I have, this is on my work desk every day when I go to work. And so that is how I did those. So that is what I would consider paper piecing, where you put together the item and then it creates the image. What I did was I set on the flowers, for example, I set the original piece of paper on here. Then I cut out different sections. So like if I wanted on this one, which is the example I have on my PDF, I wanted some brown. So I put the die on the brown piece of paper and just cut off that section. And then I tore the rough edge so it kind of blends in with the rest of the flower. And then this is distressed. I used blue ribbon around the edges to distress it. Put the two together so that you got a nice flower. So that is how I did that. And the bird's pretty much the same way. I did the bird as the base. And then when I wanted a beak, so I cut out just the beak of the bird and glue it down. And then when I did like the red breast of the bird, I cut out a piece of red paper and put it onto the bird and glued it down. I like to use, I'm trying to get all these things out of the way, I like to use Tombow glue. It works really well, it holds well, and so I really like using that. And so then when I went to do the tags, this is what I did. She used a punch, I believe, to punch them out. Well, I don't have punches, so I have a die cut. And it is by Spellbinders. Let me see if I laid it down somewhere. I know, it's over here. I'll show you the items that I used. First of all, the Field Notes by Tim Holtz. This is the stamp that I used. And I wanted to give this little tip to you. So say your stamp is falling off and you go like, it just will not stay on. So this is what you do. You just get some double-sided tape. I've seen so many other people put other things on their stuff, and just a simple piece of double-sided temporary tape works just great. Put on there and it will not fall off. If the tape gets where it's got a lot of residue buildup and that stamp doesn't stick, replace the tape with another little piece and you got it. Simple as that. I do the same thing with my die cuts. I've got one-sided temporary tape. I put on the die, even though I have a magnetic board from my die cut machine. This helps it to stay in place. I also wanted to show you some card samples. You can, now the applique part, this is kind of showing applique, and this is a circle dies. This is a standard circle small from Spellbinders. I got this a long time ago. They also make a large, but the small is the one that this set came from, just so you know. So that is what I used for the die cuts. And so then these are 2 cards that I made. This is using a Stamp It Up set. It had the boots and the guitar. It's called Country Living. On this one here, on the face of the guitar, I actually stamped the stamp itself onto a piece of wood grain paper. Did the same thing here. So then when I stamped the image on the paper, I just stamped the image right here on this paper, and then I layered the guitar on top of it, printing it out or stamping it out on wood grain paper and then cutting it out and coloring some with colored pencil. The boots here are colored with colored pencil, but this one, I just stamped it on brown cardstock And then the bootstraps, I think I colored in with colored pencil. So it makes it very easy. You get that wood grain look. You couldn't do that by coloring it. It would be very difficult. So those are 2 cards that I made. This is actually from my son-in-law. And so those are the cards I made. And then, let me think here. What else was I going to cover before I get into the actual project? I think I'm all set to do that project. So what I have done is I have stamped this 2 times on colored cardstock. In the video I watched, she actually took just regular white paper and then she distressed it. Well, I thought, why not just stamp it on different colors of paper? So that's what I did. So these are all different. These are the 3 different colors. That was just like a wrapping, shipping paper. This is the brown cardstock, and then I had kind of a yellowish, this is a file folder that I used, file folder label. So this thinner paper, I just glued it onto a cardstock base before I cut it out. So you can use, even if the paper's thin, just glue it down to a cardstock base. So I did the stamping first. Then I went in and I picked what I wanted to do for a design. So I've got, this is from my Roses in Paris paper. I'm going to use that one. And then this is just a random piece of scrap paper that I had. I stamped it on there. And so I want to show you real quick. I'm going to do one of each. So just kind of cut this out. You don't need to be exact because we're going to cut this out. So what you want to do, doesn't matter where you rip it, just rip it, all right? And then I'm going to put this one, I think I'm going to put this on this one. So we're going to get some glue on it. And I lost my glue stick. Oh, there it is. I found it. And this is a really good example of something that would work really well if I wanted to do some of those flowers. You could use this. This would be great for maybe the birds or something right in here. You would get kind of a neat collage-y image. But I've got my glue paper here, so I'm just going to take my glue and we're going to glue that down. So I'm going to put this one on the vintage photo one. And so we're just going to line up that stamped image with what is on the paper already. So let's see how well I can do this while I'm trying to video it. All right, there we go. So that one's down. Now, this could be used for another one. So that's why it went so quick, because I have halves and I use those halves. So I only had to stamp a few of them to get several done very quickly. And this one I'm just going to trim out real quick. Does not need to be all the way down to the edges. This one I'm going to tear a little bit differently. So I'm going to go this way, and you can, make it a strange shape. Just go like that. And so we're going to glue this one down to the one that was the Timber ink by Tim Holtz. Burnt Timber, I can't, offhand it's not coming to me what it is, but you know what I mean. So there we go. And if it's not quite lined up, you can still move it just a little bit before that dries. Don't worry about this sticking over. It's not glued down. It's going to come off once I cut it. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to get my die cut machine. You might not be able to see it very well, but I'm going to put it up here on the table. This is my die cut machine. And so, yay, on the floor. Just a moment. Okay, so we've got the, I'm only going to be able to do one at a time because I only have one die cut, but we're going to see how easy it is just to line that up. That black edge is going to be right up around that circle. So easy. Press the glue down, or the tape down a little bit, and then we're going to turn it through. All right. And then we're going to take that off. Boom, there is that little circle. Nice even border. And yes, there is that paper, but guess what? It's just going to peel right off. All right, so there's that. And then we're going to cut the other one out real quick. I want to show you something on this die cut machine. I had so many people, when I was teaching classes, they would be forcing it and they would be turning the crank this way. Well, it can't go in. So this is my little tip. If you ever want to know which way to turn the handle, when you push the plate in, do you see how the handle is moving? That's the direction you want to continue to go. Just as simple as that. All right, so we got both of those cut out. All right, let me get this die cut machine out of the way. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to put the eyelets in. You can distress it first. Excuse my head if it's in the way. You can distress it first, or you can put the eyelets in first. It does not matter. This part does not matter. What I'm going to do is do the eyelet first. And I did use let's see what size it is. I used the smaller hole because I'm using smaller eyelets. I did the small. And I set it out as far as it could go because I only want to go in so far. And so I'm going to press it right there. So it puts that hole just above those numbers, as a tag should be. Now that I've got that done, let's see, I wanted to do the black one on this one. Yep. And I'm going to set it here real quick. So let's give it a squeeze, and then we're going to do the other one here. This is kind of a brass colored one, and we're going to do that. Just as simple. Now, what I like to do, just because sometimes you can take a hammer as well, but I don't have a hammer handy, so excuse me, but I'm going to use my tool to flatten those down. Kind of prevents you from getting snagged. They're kind of sharp, and so then that way you don't get cut. Now, we're going to take the distressed, the vintage photo, and we're just going to go very lightly around the edges, not the corners, but the edges. All the way around, does not matter. And we're going to go around that way. And there we go. We've got 2 tags, just that quick. We've got 2 tags created, and I've got enough to do 2 more, if I had stamped 2 more on cardstock. So anyhow, that is what I wanted to show you today. I'm going to try to lay things out here nicely so that you see what I used or what I made. So let me get that here a little bit. So those are a couple of the other tags that we made, or I made, I should say. And let's see if I can find some flowers to put on the table here so it just looks nice. This is a bigger bird I did. Ooh, look at that big bird. And that's the red I was talking about. So cut out the red, have it tore right there, and that goes right there on that. Here's a butterfly that I did out of some collage pieces. That's also a Tim Holtz die. I'm just going to throw some of these other things on the table so you can see them. There's the one that's from the sample. And so I think that is all I wanted to show you today. So visit MyCraftBasket.com, go to the MyCraftBasketStudio tab, and you will see this download and the PDF that is available. There'll be a PDF for simple instructions and a PDF that has picture samples so that you remember what I made. Let's see, what else? I think that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. And also I was going to mention, I've been stamping for a long time, and I know about inks, and I know about stamps, and all of that. If you're curious and would like to know more about stamps and ink, because I have seen some tutorials or videos out there where, because they didn't work with stamps and ink a lot, but they are doing some stamping, they don't necessarily show you technique or the reason why you use what ink you have for what you're doing, as is an example, the StazOn. So if that is something that you would be interested in, please leave a comment down below in my description below the description. And if you like my videos, please subscribe. I have several different playlists, so please subscribe to my YouTube channel as well. Thank you so much for stopping by. Bye-bye.